sacred on the broadcast. Quote in the comments, chanting every line. You're tuned to the truth that you'll never find online. Come on, it's the cult of Ron and Brian. If you're in, you ain't ever going quiet. Twist that dial, let the whole world hear it. Two sharp minds in the bad influence spirit. Hey, cult of Ron and Brian. Welcome to the ride, you're inside it now.
That is right. Just like the theme song says, you are inside both of us right now. Welcome to episode 402.
402
of Ron and Brian podcast. 8 o'clock here on a Sunday night. You can tell we're getting deeper into the year because it is still extremely bright out for 8 p.m. That can only mean one thing. Hot Podcaster Summer is right around the corner.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
More importantly, Brian,
my favorite sound. My favorite sound that we've ever created here on the show.
You love Hot Podcaster Summer in general?
Hot Podcaster Summer.
But I know you really love the ooh. All right. Well, Brian, how the hell are you tonight, my friend?
Doing splendid. Listen, it has been a fantastic weekend. Have checked out so many great bands at the Gorilla Biscuit Straight Ahead shows in Brooklyn. But I had to run home early so I could do the show here. Sunday 8 o'clock. It's a tradition. It's a commitment that we have each and every Sunday. Look at us dragged out in our Yankee gear.
That's right. Winning 8 games in a row. I think we remember the disappointment we had the other week when they were in a bit of a slump. But now sitting atop the American League East with one of the best records in baseball, I think just behind the Dodgers and the Padres at this point. Yep. Maybe the Braves. I'm not sure. Braves lost last night to the Phillies.
No shit. I bet the Braves.
Losing streak. Yes.
By the way, I did watch the Apple TV had the Braves Phillies game on Friday night.
Yes.
Have you watched any of the baseball that Apple TV? I think this is the second or third season they have.
It's second season. I have watched it. Does not seem to be getting any better.
No, they lean too heavy on statistics. It literally every pitch. They've got like 5 or 6 different probabilities going on the screen. It literally is ADD nightmare juice. It's like Bryce Harper's up, and it's like 2% that he's going to get a hit, 0.04% that he's going to get a triple, 38% that he's going to hit a pop fly to right field.
Right.
I don't need all this. I'm just trying to watch the game.
And they had Bryce Harper mic'd up in the field at one point. If you're losing, if at that point you had lost, I think 8 or 9 games in a row, maybe you're like, you know what? I'm going to focus on the game, folks. I don't need to be mic'd up for this. Yeah. My least favorite thing they do. If you want to mic up somebody in the dugout, in the bullpen, perfect. On the field, seems excessive to me.
Yeah, I would say so. I would absolutely say so. But the Phillies look atrocious this year, and I can't figure out what's going on.
It's everybody in Philadelphia is asking the same thing. You know what else people are asking, Brian? They want to know what we're drinking this week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Pause.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian, what did you bring to the table as your drink of the week this week?
I'm going to angle it a little bit, but if you're looking, I've got, listen, I need to be sharp. We're doing a Can You Beat Ron game tonight, later, for our Patreons. I've set this game up. There will be 15 questions. Hold your shock. Hold your shock. I got 15 questions. But I'm drinking coffee here. This is some very special Ron and Brian French roast coffee. You can get it at the website Click the link. This stuff is delicious. I'm drinking it without any additives, no milk, no cream, sugar, no Splenda, no Sweet and Low, no
Agave.
Is that what people put in? No honey.
You could put a little agave, a little honey, maybe a little cinnamon, maybe a drop of vanilla. I've heard some almond extract in your coffee can give it a kind of a nice nutty flavor. And that was your nickname in college, nice nutty flavor, if I recall. But regardless, how is the coffee?
Hurtful. Coffee's delicious, utterly delicious. Drinking it out of my Yankees mug. You could see I'm in baseball season. I know that hockey and NBA are in the playoffs. The first round of their playoffs, but I am all about baseball right now. Drinking coffee, delicious. Will be energized today. Ron, what are you drinking today?
So, Brian, surprisingly enough, I have also brought coffee to the table. I need to defend the crown. You were not so fortunate. People were able to beat Brian last month. I need to make sure that they don't beat Ron today. So I, too, have brought a cup of coffee. And, Brian, I hope you don't mind. I know you've been trying a soft launch of this, but I have tried your new coffee brand. That's right, Brian's 49% medium roast, focused enough for 49% of the show, but not always available on Sunday nights. So again, this will be available in our web store sooner rather than later. Let me have a sip here. I mean, it's interesting. It's a bit weak, a bit underwhelming.
You say a bit weak?
The tangent, I mean, the taste just kind of seems to go on and on and on and on and on and on. But I'll keep drinking it. Again, I support you. I love you. And I'm happy we're doing this.
Why do you feel the need to be so rude to me?
I have no idea. I'm promoting, 100% of the proceeds of the sale of this coffee is going to go support your next colonoscopy. So I don't know why you feel this is hurtful in any way, shape, or form.
Just hurtful.
All right, fair enough. Well, in the meantime,
it's just
maybe that'll be
hurtful.
Maybe that'll be your beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week? Tell us from your
Once
heart,
again,
what's bothering you?
Once again, Ron, I am bothering me, and it's my inability to handle free beer. As friends of the show know, this weekend I went out to Brooklyn, the lovely Brooklyn Monarch, to see Gorilla Biscuits, Straight Ahead, two bands I've been a fan of for years. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I was able to get my hands on a wristband that allowed me to go backstage.
You do love
Not
that
a brag.
backstage access. You are a slut for backstage access.
I am. This is not the purpose of what I want to get to.
My
It is that upon walking backstage, I was greeted by a gigantic cooler that was filled with cans of Heineken Tall Boys.
Oh, you do like
covered
your
in
Heineken
ice.
Tall Boys. You love your Heineken ice cold in the Tall Boys.
I do. Oh, you know what it is? The Heineken bottles can get real skunky. You know, so when I see a Heineken bottle, I will avoid it. But in a can where it's been, shielded from the sun and the direct, forget
And
it.
you've had a weakness for German Tall Boys since college.
That was, wasn't that your nickname in college, German Tall Boy? And let's be
was.
brutally honest, Ron, I do have a weakness for you, and I've been accused of it for many years.
Sure.
By our wives feel they're a little uncomfortable. Anyway,
They're very uncomfortable.
So I get backstage. I'm looking at the cooler. I'm noticing nobody has really made a dent into it yet. It's also like maybe 2:00 in the afternoon, and I just said to myself, you know what? I'll have one. If no one's gonna break the seal, I can have one. Gonna tell you something, Ron. I think it was probably like maybe 10 o'clock. I'm on the subway platform, feeling the effects of the multiple trips I took. I have no idea how many I had. I was not keeping count.
What time did you crack open that first beer? If you're on the platform at 10 p.m., what time did
It's
you
about
start?
2. It probably was about 2 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, God bless you. I can't do it anymore. I can't drink for 8 straight hours.
I think I may have had maybe 2 waters throughout the day, which was just bad. But you know what it is? It's had the beers been $8, I would have probably had like 2 or 3 and called it a day.
You would have cut it
fun.
off and been like, "This is too much money to spend on beer."
Yes, but it was the fact that they were ice cold and they were free, and despite my advanced age and assumed maturity, I cannot handle an open bar. I just can't. I don't have the willpower. I don't have the fortitude. I don't have the strength. That's why you're the champ and I'm not. Let's be brutally honest.
It comes down to that. That's why these belts all reside here, Philly adjacent.
You would have walked into that same hallway, seen the same cooler, picked up one and called it a day. And I
would have been like, these are for everybody. Why am I going to be selfish and just drink multiple cans of this?
Sure.
Let's make sure everybody gets a taste.
Also, keep in mind, I wasn't even associated with any of the bands that were playing. So it's like, I have no right to even take any of those beers. Like, those should be for the bands. Right. But let's just put it this way, if you want an idea of how bad it was. I had to go to the bathroom this morning before I even got my coffee. Like, before I took my first sip of coffee, I was sitting on my bowl. By the way, also, when are we going to get, when will warmed toilet seats become a thing? Like, I know there are things but they haven't been normalized. Like, why is it like I just feel like we're there. We're there as a society.
Why are they not more of a thing in our country is what you're saying.
Exactly. And that's bothering me. But not my beef of the week, which reminds me to steer it right back to you, champ.
Sure.
What's bothering you?
So what's bothering me is the construction work going on in my neighborhood. More specifically, the fact that we have multiple construction crews that don't seem to be communicating with each other when they close roads around here. So, we live in a very quiet, some would say gated community.
Gated community, yes.
And, the main road is a block down from ours. But if you want to go left on that main road, there's only certain roads that you can turn left onto that road from. All the other ones, like, you can only turn right. So I get out, going to work the other morning, go down to the first street that I know I can cut down and make that left. Street's closed for construction. All right, no problem. I'll just go to the next street. Next street, also closed for construction. All right, well, there's one more street I can go. Surely they wouldn't have closed all 3 of these roads. Go down. Sure enough, that road is closed for construction too. So I then need to make this tremendous loop around the entire neighborhood just to be able to get onto the road I wanted to go to and go in the right direction. Just feels kind of counterproductive, don't you think?
Of course. The question is this, like, at any point did you roll down your window and start screaming at the work crews that, this is your neighborhood and they should go back to where they came from? Because that's, I think, normally how you handle a situation like that.
No, I don't yell at the workers. They're not the ones who make these decisions, Brian. And I know you like to beat up on the little guy. You like to feel, pumped up. You're 49% here. You want to feel 58% in your normal life. But no, that was not how that particular thing played out.
Okay.
Do you feel I'm angry in some way, shape, or form that way?
No, I think you're entitled. I think you seem to take this approach that, you should never be inconvenienced. That if there's anything that's going to put you out of your way in any bit, this is something that, first off, is a legitimate gripe, but also it just feels like, you feel it's your roads and your neighborhood and nobody has a right to inconvenience you in any way.
Well, I think it's everybody's inconvenience, Brian. I don't just do it for me. Much like as I am a champ of the people here, I am a neighbor of the people in my very community.
I don't know about that.
Next up, we have our stories of the week. As you folks know, these are stories that we make sure we grab and we share with you because we love you so much. Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story of the week comes out from the New York Post. And if you have a photo of a New York writer, Gia Tolentino, I believe she's Italian. Throw her photo up. That is Gia Tolentino. She's a New York writer and on the New York Times Opinion podcast. So I'm not promoting the competition, Ron. Don't get angry at me yet. However, it is, it's hard for me to be outraged. It is hard for me to be launched to a level of fury that is scary. But this woman on the podcast said that she does that she carries herself in society in a way that literally infuriated me.
Okay.
So she lives, according to the New York Post, she lives in a $2.5 million Brooklyn brownstone, and she elicited the fury of hard-working New Yorkers after she claimed it was just fine to shoplift from Whole Foods, praising what she's referring to as micro-looting, which is a new trendy term for stealing from big companies. I'm outraged by that behavior. It's stealing is stealing regardless of who you're stealing from. So this young lady got on this podcast and said that several times she goes to Whole Foods and neglects to swipe some of the items that she is purchasing. And she said she doesn't feel bad because it's a big corporation that she is stealing from. She praised micro-looting as a form of anti-capitalist protest. Meanwhile, New Yorkers who are on a budget weren't buying it, saying that the well-to-do lefties are basically stealing and it only trickles down to trouble for the rest of them as stores now have to increase prices and spread it across. Stealing is stealing, Ron, and it's never okay.
So let me get this straight. Someone who lives in, yes, a brownstone, but let's call it an ivory tower, goes on a podcast and brags about stealing from Whole Foods. Was any of those like a roast of some sort? Do you know exactly what she?
No, I believe the examples in the story said lemons. They specifically refer to lemons.
Lemons,
steals
very
from.
low cost
terrible.
items. No one really talking about like a $78 beef roast that someone may have forgotten to scan and walk out of Whole Foods with.
If I heard a story like that, I would probably be calling the police to see if they could get involved.
You have to think it's a felony almost.
Listen, tell me this doesn't boil your blood. This is a direct quote from her. What I'm seeing on TikTok and social media is people saying that they're stealing from Whole Foods, not just for the thrill of it, but out of a feeling of anger and moral justification, because the rich don't play by the rules, so why should I? And Jeff Bezos has too much money. He's a billionaire, so why should I have to pay for organic avocados?
So she's the Luigi Mangione of shoplifters is what you're saying.
This is disgusting behavior, and it's something that we should not condone or encourage in any way.
All right, fair enough. Well, I appreciate you taking that firm stance.
Pay for all your items, people. Do what Rod and Brian do, and that's pay for all their items when they go to Whole Foods. Rod, what's your story of the week?
To my story of the week, we're going out to Scarsdale, New York, the Westchester High School, where tensions are mounting in the school community after a troubling incident at the high school ignited outrage, concern, and renewed calls for accountability. What began as a student effort to promote a cultural event quickly escalated into a situation many are calling disturbing. Apparently, there is a group. It's the Israel Culture Club. They had distributed a flyer to celebrate Israel's 78th Independence Day that was supposed to take place earlier last week. And this was a photo that was circulated on social media where someone had taken the flyer and put it into a urinal at the school. The picture of the flyer in the urinal was reposted by the daughter of the president of the school board and added, quote, "Keep up the good work." So with many people stating that this is anti-Semitic, the principal has said that there is an investigation underway. There will be disciplinary action against the students responsible. The school board president, again, whose daughter posted this on social media, said, quote, "I condemn this conduct as I do conduct that condones anti-Semitism or otherwise targets any religion, ethnicity, race, or nationality. As a parent, I will focus on healing my family." The daughter acknowledged her post was offensive and inappropriate and took it down. This I think speaks to the continuing conflicts Americans seem to have with Israel right now.
Well, I think what's important is to be able to differentiate the issues you have with the foreign policy of the country of Israel and not blame all Jews for it. I think you should be able to separate the nation from the individual.
You should be able to condemn a government while also being able to celebrate the culture, I feel.
Of course.
Is what you're saying.
And the people.
And the people?
And the people.
And the people. Most of the people. Just not the government.
The last time we stopped celebrating Jews, there was a Holocaust. So I think we should keep celebrating them and make sure there's never another Holocaust. Never forget, Ron. Never forget. Maybe you've forgotten. I haven't.
So you go right to the Holocaust. That's your go-to.
Ron, we only have 38 minutes left in this episode. I don't have time to kill here, buddy. I am, you got to knock off I have a checklist every episode. Of things that have to happen. One is, mocking you. The second one, referring to you as the title champion. And the third, referencing the Holocaust. I mean, it has to happen every week. And that was so check mark there.
Okay. Brian, I know you were out last night, as you mentioned. You were drunkenly attempting to get home on the New York City subway system. So were you seeing in real time the texts that were coming through talking about the shooter that was at the White House Correspondents Dinner?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we should be concerned about this. You tell me. I mean, it seems as if there is a growing level of anger, of mental instability, of easy access to handguns, weapons of mass destruction. People who live in gated communities are nervous. Champions are seeing themselves be targeted. I'm not sure this is necessarily something that I need to worry about. Maybe you do.
I mean, I think, anytime American safety is compromised, we all need to be a little bit worried. But initially, reports came out that the shooter had been killed. He was not. He was actually arrested by Secret Service. The suspect being Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old from California, who will be facing several charges, according to U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro. FBI agents assembled overnight outside a home linked to Allen in Torrance, a suburb of LA. Apparently what happened was he was a guest at the Washington Hilton where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was taking place. He charged through a security checkpoint, appeared to be targeting Trump administration officials, shot a Secret Service agent who thankfully was wearing a bulletproof vest. He was armed with shotgun, handgun, and knives, and, quote, got off a few shots before he was subdued by law enforcement. They eventually ended up canceling the dinner. It was interesting, too. This was, the first year that Donald Trump had reappeared at the Correspondents' Dinner during his presidency. And two, they did not have a comedian hosting the Correspondents' Dinner this time. They had a magician/mentalist as host. Brian, is there anything worse than a dinner hosted by a magician/mentalist?
Speak for yourself, buddy. We had Kreskin on this show, and I'm going to tell you something. He was one of our most fascinating guests.
Fair. The memes automatically coming out of this, as always, legendary. Iran quick to respond with one of their famous Lego videos, accusing this of being within hours, Brian, within hours of this, a new Lego video suggesting that Trump staged yet again another situation to take the eyes off his mishandling of the Iran war and the economy and the Epstein files and whatever else you want to throw in.
Sure. Why is this guy not wearing any clothes in that photo? I mean, I know you just took it down, but where's his shirt?
I don't know where the shirt is. It looks like he has pants on, but I don't know where the shirt is. Maybe they took his shirt off to make sure he didn't have additional weapons on him. I'm not 100% sure.
I understand that, people who are trying to bum rush the White House Correspondents Dinner may not have the tightest grip on reality. But I'm just going to say something here. If you're trying to, slip into an event you were not attended to, you should be wearing a shirt. I feel like running around without a shirt on is just going to draw unnecessary, unwarranted attention onto yourself when really what you're trying to do is the opposite. No?
I mean, again, he may have had a shirt on and they, again, took it off as part of the frisking process. But I guess if you're just going to bum rush a security checkpoint, maybe you're just crazy to begin with.
Wasn't that your move in college when when you would take a young lady out on a first date, a young co-ed, you'd be like, listen, I need to take your shirt off to frisk you because I need to make sure you don't have any weapons. I'm a future podcast title champion and I need to make sure that I will not be hurt on this date.
It was less, I was more concerned that they were wearing wires at that point. We were involved in some dealings that we're not proud about back in college days. So just had to make sure about that. Now, I will say this, kudos, because this does appear to be a person of color and the Secret Service managed to not kill them. So, I mean, I think that is a step forward.
Impressive, right? Yeah. I agree. Could not agree more.
Donald Trump and Melania were escorted from the ballroom after the shooting, taken to a secure location. And then, of course, Donald Trump had to start tweeting, quote, "What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president for the last 150 years have been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House." Now, Brian, you and I have lived through a number of presidencies. I cannot remember any president saying, you know what, we need a big ass ballroom here at the White House.
Sure. Nobody has. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. He went
on by saying, quote, "This event would never have happened with the militarily top secret ballroom." Militarily top secret ballroom. That was not a misspeak on my part. Currently under construction at the White House. It cannot be built fast enough. While beautiful, it has every highest level security feature there is. Plus, there are no rooms sitting on top for unsecured people to pour in and is inside the gates of the most secure building in the world, the White House.
Okay.
Does he have a point?
I don't think he has a point. I'm terribly sorry to say so. Do you disagree?
No, I don't believe so either. Gunman bought his firearms legally in 2023, 2024, and the suspect apparently was not on law enforcement's radar prior to the shooting. As part of regular security protocol, all names in the hotel were run through government databases.
Yeah, as long as Erica Kirk is safe.
Well, and again, some of the great comments I've seen because apparently, Erica Kirk was photographed in tears after the shooting, and people were saying, well, give her a break. Sometimes you have to, your first time seeing gun violence up front, you got to give her a break. I guess assuming that, saying that she set up her assassination of her husband.
I think that's a terrible assumption to make, and we don't give those comments any credence.
There was a photo that made it appear that Stephen Miller was using his pregnant wife as a human shield.
Saw that he was
leading her out
first.
Of the room.
He was pushing her first. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that was an IVF baby.
I'm not 100% sure, but Stephen Miller being a lizard man, I don't know that his DNA is compatible with humans. So you would have to imagine there was some sort of scientific trickery that went in in the planning of that baby.
Sure. Of course.
And then, of course, also apparently, people were saying that Kash Patel's girlfriend was seen holding hands with another man during this shooting. There were people. One guy tried to protect himself with a row of glasses from gunfire, and another guy just calmly sat there eating the dinner that was placed in front of him while everybody evacuated. Probably someone who had to actually pay for their seat at the dinner.
Of course. Do you think the food at those things is any good? Because I've got to say, I don't think I've ever been at any kind of like event. I haven't been to many in my lifetime, but
right.
Like wedding, the food's never good. Like anytime you are mass producing a large number of meals, quality is going to suffer.
It's a challenge, yeah, and and usually it's some very generic middle of the road entree that will appease everybody in the crowd. So you're not usually seeing anything.
I'm getting yelled at. Not our wedding. Our wedding had amazing food, and that's why we did it at your family's restaurant. My God, exactly. she is this close to hitting me with something.
Well, that's a constant thing.
It is a common every Sunday night. It's a tradition in this household. Sunday nights, we sit down, we have dinner together. We take out the candlesticks, we light some candles, we have our dinner. We kind of talk about, the week that we had, just finished. We talk about the upcoming week we're about to have. I then come into the home office to record this show, and I think my lovely bride sits in a chair right on the other side of this wall with a pillow in hand, ready to come out and just hit me with it at any given moment. But
to be fair, you usually deserve it.
I do usually deserve it. I will admit this. I think it's just something, it keeps the fire burning in this relationship.
Okay, listen, you got to keep it spicy. I think that is
got to keep it spicy.
One thing that
absolutely
we said is that we keep our relationship spicy, you and me, and that's how we've been able to do this for 402 episodes.
Spicy Picante. That was my nickname.
Brian, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. Are you watching the Hulk Hogan docuseries on Netflix that dropped the other week?
Not at all. I've not seen. I didn't even know it came out. I do want to watch it. I'm assuming it's got to be like a very eye-opening approach to them.
I mean, I will say it's there is a good amount of behind the scenes. So it's 4 episodes all together. First 3 episodes are around an hour. Last episode is around an hour 20. Basically, his last series of interviews prior to his passing. Was that late last year he passed away, or was that 2026?
No, that was last year.
All right. So it was. I will say it was a very charitable. I still have about 20 minutes to go in the last episode, but I would say it was a very charitable telling of the Hulk Hogan tale.
They've all been released. It's
all 4. It's Netflix. Okay, they don't tease your ass with a feather. They just release all the episodes.
Thank gosh. Good.
But again, you and I
walk me through it. What's your? I know you were a huge Hulk Hogan fan as a young man. I know that you shaved the top of your head, you grew the sides long, and you dyed them pink. You used to walk around your middle school wearing bright yellow tighty whities, oiled up your whole chest. You'd walk through the hallway and just, whack your finger.
The teacher would say, "Can you come do this problem on the board?" I'd be like, "That doesn't work for me, brother." And then she'd move on to the next student.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, back in, I started watching wrestling in the late 70s, early 80s. And Hogan obviously came into the WWE 83, won the title in 84. So I think it goes into kind of the history of how Hulk Hogan became Hulk Hogan. Talks about the steroid controversy, his times being hired and fired by WWE, and his time in WCW. And then, kind of in that last episode, talking about how the effects of the ring had impacted him. He had both hips replaced. He had both knees replaced. There is a point in the docuseries where he's at his doctor's office and his doctor puts up an x-ray to show him what like a regular healthy human spine should look like. Sure. And then he's like, and this is what your spine looks like. And it literally was like a squiggle, like his spine. Like it looked like incredibly painful. He had like 10 back surgeries. So it's I don't want to say it's a puff piece, but it doesn't go too much into, the accusations of, racism and
sure.
It does go into the Gawker sex tape, talks about that a bit. And it does talk about him getting booed out of the building when Raw premiered on Netflix in early 2025. Because again, he had appeared at the RNC to promote Donald Trump.
Correct.
He talked about how I voted for Trump in 2016 and didn't tell anybody, and I voted for Trump in 2020 and didn't tell anybody. But when someone tried to kill our president when he was campaigning, that's when I decided I needed to make a stand as Hulk Hogan.
Do they address at all the fact that his daughter stopped speaking to him?
So they didn't go too deep into that. She does not appear in the docuseries at all. Linda Hogan, his first wife, they interview her a lot. Nick Hogan, very clearly still had a relationship with his dad, was almost like a business manager, it seems, based on what you see here. But you do not, apart from the clips of Hogan Knows Best and interviews that she did back then, there is no commentary from Brooke about her father. Interesting.
Okay. All right. Do they interview at any point the Bubba the Love Sponge?
They don't, and that is also very disappointing. We don't hear from Hulk's second wife. We hear from his third wife, Sky, who I think was like 30 some years younger than him. Was she the lookalike of his daughter? Wasn't she the one that looked exactly like 100%?
Yeah. It was creepy when that came out. It was creepy because he looked exactly like the daughter. Did you, just out of curiosity, did you watch the video that Gawker had put up of him with
I did not.
Bubba? You never watched that video?
No,
I did watch it. When it comes to celebrity sex tapes, they don't really do it anymore now in terms of, leaking this stuff. It's, nobody wants to host it. That's the problem nowadays. There is no
Rotten.com. The Gawker lawsuit, the Gawker was $140 million.
Put him out of business. But I remember watching it when I remember it was, first off, very grainy. Second off, it was more of like a surveillance video. It wasn't like, Bubba was standing there, just zooming in and zooming out, in the room. It was like a camera up on the wall, in the back of the room. And you just saw Hogan come in. And I think he laid the woman on the bed on her back, held her legs up and stood off the bed. What you told me, that's one of your favorite poses with, that you've done with the ladies in your life.
The American Psycho pose.
You call that the, what do you call it? You call that the Hulkster. But I just remember being like, this is stupid. This isn't sexy in any way. I'm getting nothing out of this. And I finished watching it, but I don't think I ever went back and watched it.
Yeah. I think the one theme, they do try and paint Hulk as a sympathetic character, and I don't know that they quite get there, but there a number of the people that they interview, there's a definite difference of opinion between Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea, his actual name, where like people are like, yes, Hulk Hogan, professional wrestling probably wouldn't be what it is today without Hulk Hogan, but Terry Bollea wasn't a good person.
Right. Okay.
So it's like you almost have to disseminate the character from the person.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It's kind of like, Brian Two Count is a very abrasive, polarizing individual when he goes to wrestling matches. But the Brian that we see here is somewhat tolerable, I would say. Somewhat tolerable? Yeah. Do you think you're not tolerable?
I think I'm very I think I'm actually I believe I'm quite likable.
All right. You're a gem. I shouldn't say that. You're a gem. Well, let's get to, again, one of the segments that our listeners and fans love. It is time for But the Drag Queens Are the Problem. We, of course, bring stories about people with problematic relationships with underage kids. We've had one drag queen so far, but we always try and go back and see, is this really going to be a problem where the drag queens are the issue? And this first story is, nope, this is a substitute teacher from Texas who has been charged with having an improper relationship with students. I think she should also be charged, her left eye should be charged for an improper relationship with his right eye, because they do not look like they belong on the same head.
Correct.
Like now that I notice it, and I can't look anywhere but her eyes right now.
Mesmerizing, right? I'm going to say this to you. I have watched so many videos on social media that I now am starting to chalk up as it's AI. That's right. AI generated. I believe this mugshot is AI generated. This is very possible. I do not believe that this is a real human being. What is this? What is this person's name?
So this is Angela Palmera's, age 27. Arrested without incident in Bell County, Texas on Wednesday, and charged with an improper relationship between an educator and student, a second-degree felony. She's being held on a $150,000 bond. She was busted after school officials notified police about inappropriate communication with students, specifically through a social media platform outside of the school day. Neither the sheriff's office nor the school district shared details about the communication, and it was also unclear how many students were involved or how old they are. She was immediately removed from the district's list of available substitutes, and the school has been in contact with the parents of the students impacted. So we will see what comes out with this story moving forward.
I'm not saying that this woman belongs in jail. I'm not saying that she should be sent to prison for a long time. But if they were to remake Caged Heat 3 starring her, I would watch it.
You think you like Caged Heat 3 more than Caged Heat 2?
You know, I felt like number 2 was really just a continuation of 1. You know, it was more of a follow-up. Where 3, I really feel
it was kind
like
of derivative. You're saying
it started its own storyline, and that's where I thought some creativity was brought into the writers' room.
All right. Well, let's move on to this next story. Again, looking to see if this is a drag queen. And no, this is a high school counselor who has been sentenced up to 40 years behind bars for having sex with an underage girl, at times in her school office, while promising to leave her husband and kids for her. This is Jessica Finley, who was also the volleyball coach at McDowell High School in North Carolina. She cried in court this past Thursday as she apologized for the pain she caused the vulnerable girl who was just 14 when she started grooming her. Her victim's sister branded the school staffer, quote, a predator lurking behind the walls of the counseling office waiting for a victim.
Just terrible.
Yes, the teen was 14 when she initially turned to Finley to help with anxiety during her 2023-2024 freshman year, which the trusted counselor used to groom the vulnerable student, eventually turning sexual. Well, that's
when will these educators understand that part of their job is to protect the children, not to violate them?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. The girl revealed to her parents at one point how Finley performed sex acts on her in her office and kissed her on the lips. But the teen also said she tried to stop seeing Finley, but the counselor threatened to take her own life, leading the girl to feel trapped. So just high levels of manipulation.
Yeah, that's terrible. Just terrible.
She pled guilty to 16 sex crime charges, was sentenced to a maximum of 40 years in prison with a minimum of 28.
I'm okay with that.
You think that's long enough?
I would say she should go. It should go even longer.
Yeah, but at least it's longer than some of these other cases that we've seen.
Yeah,
so I guess
absolutely
that is a plus.
Absolutely.
All right. We've got another one here. We've got two more, but let's get to this next one. Has to be a drag queen, you would think. And no, we're on a roll. This is a high school basketball coach who had long been praised for being a great role model for young people. She has been arrested for having deviant sexual intercourse with a student. Her husband is a fellow basketball coach at the same school, has now filed for divorce and is demanding full custody of their child. This is Paige Adams, age 35. She was indicted by a grand jury on more than 30 sex crimes less than a month after abruptly resigning from her role at Cold Springs High School in Alabama. It's a roll of red states, too, this time around also.
Seriously. Ron, question. Do you think this is a jail uniform, or do you think that's her own personal shirt that she's wearing? Because the collar is throwing me for a loop here.
Right.
I don't think that it's a flattering shirt to wear for your mugshot. And I'm wondering, did the jailers, say to her, "This is the uniform, you're wearing this," or do you think she sat there and said, "Hold on, let me make sure I'm wearing the right shirt"?
I mean, it's giving Handmaid's Tale vibes, which would make sense for Alabama. So I feel this is what Alabama jails dress their female inmates in.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Let's just put it that way.
The charges that she faces include engaging in a sex act or deviant sexual intercourse with a student, sexual contact involving a pupil under 19, and distributing obscene material to a student.
Hold up. You're telling me this was somebody under 19, which implies they could be 18.
Could potentially be 18, but I think...
And you're telling me deviant sexual activity? Deviant?
Deviant, it says.
I like her already.
So she was released from jail after posting a $225,000 bond, but is forced to wear an electronic tag. Again, the article mentions it was not immediately clear how old the accuser was, beyond the charge saying a student under 19.
But again, not a drag queen.
Does not appear to be a drag queen. And listen, do you think a drag queen would ever wear a top like that? They have much
Definitely no. At what point do we just rename this bit, but the teachers are the problem? Because week in, week out. What? Who else?
It's priests, sometimes it's law enforcement officers.
You're right. A youth pastor. Always. Yes. Okay, you're right. Let's keep the bit. We'll keep the bit, Ron. This is why you're the champ and I'm not, because I jump to conclusions. I make assumptions based on a very small data group. You are the big thinker. You think at a high level. This is why we keep you around.
There you go. I mean, we do have one more. Maybe this will be another teacher. Maybe this will be a drag queen. Let's see what we have going on here. And no, this is unique, Brian. We have the former owner of the iconic Home Alone home. That's right. What? The home that Kevin and his parents lived in the movie Home Alone was found dead from a suspected suicide on an Illinois nature preserve days after he was hit with child pornography charges. John Abenshine's body was discovered in the Lake Forest Open Lands Derwin Marr Nature Preserve just before 6 p.m. on Wednesday. The 79-year-old was identified the next morning and, as quote, asphyxia in a manner consistent with being self-inflicted was ruled the primary cause of death. Police have opened an investigation into his death, but have said that this appears to be an isolated incident with no threat to the community at the time.
Do you think he was jerking it when he died? Because,
it does open up the autoerotic asphyxiation. Like, listen, maybe he went to the woods to do like a David Carradine thing, just, try and clear his mind, and then accidentally hung himself.
God, what a way to go. What a way to go. But I will say this, kudos to him. I mean, not for the child pornography thing. Good. But kudos for him for realizing, you know what, it's time for me to die. I should not be alive anymore. And you know what? Just going out into the woods and taking care of himself. You know, he didn't go out and buy a gun and storm into a shopping mall and just start shooting people until the police killed him. You know, he didn't go the suicide by cop route. He just went into the woods and quietly killed himself. You know, there is something to be said for that. There's something to be respected for it. He did not take out any innocent civilians while doing so. Now, he is still a monster for the child pornography. Look, we're not going to pretend that didn't happen and just ignore it. But let's give credit where it's due. He just committed suicide.
He saved the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
He saved,
correct.
A number of individuals the trauma of having to testify in court.
Correct.
So, I mean, all 4 of these individuals today are horrible people, but we may need to put him maybe a little bit above everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. What else? Any other drag queens?
Not this week. So we will continue.
Right.
We will continue to try and hunt down situations where the drag queens are the problem. But yet again this week, we strike out 0 for 4 on that one.
Okay.
Now, this next story, I know we both enjoyed seeing this story where a top MAGA influencer was revealed to be an AI creation. Here is a photo of the quote-unquote influencer, Samantha, a 22-year-old. Her name was, I can't find the name now.
Make it up, Ron. Come on.
Emily Hart. There we go. I'm sorry. So Emily Hart was a MAGA influencer who racked up millions of followers with patriotic content of her posing in a bikini while ice fishing, drinking Coors Light, and shooting guns. She has, however, been unmasked as an Indian man who put himself through medical school on the proceeds of his trickery. So Sam is the name of a 22-year-old orthopedic surgeon in training. He told Wired that he got the idea to sell AI-generated images of a young woman in a bikini while trying to make money for school and trying to save up enough to emigrate to the U.S. after graduation. He turned to Google and their Gemini AI for advice and decided to create a hot girl crafted specifically for the MAGA/conservative niche after the software told him that, quote, the conservative audience, especially older men in the U.S., often has higher disposable income and is more loyal.
I'm going to say this, utterly genius. You have to respect this man's hustle. You have to, he's picking up on the obvious thing that conservatives have picked up on, which is that the MAGA crowd love to spend their money, but do not actually research where they're spending it on and can be easily fleeced. I mean, there's people that put $100 down as a deposit for a Trump phone that are still out there. Those people
thinking they're going to get a phone.
They still have money in their pocket. How else can we separate? Why is it these people why are these people not buying Ron and Brian coffee? Like, why am I buying Ron and Brian coffee, but we can't figure out a way to get MAGA to buy our products? This is very disappointing. But this guy's he no longer has to pay for medical school because idiot MAGA people fell in love with his AI model that he created. Just genius. I tip my cap to him.
He told Wired magazine that, quote, every day I'd write something pro-Christian, pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, anti-abortion, anti-woke, and anti-immigration. The account blew up, and quickly Emily Hart had 10,000 followers within a month. Every reel he posted garnered millions of views and earned him more followers. One post was her firing a rifle with the caption, if you want a reason to unfollow, Christ is king, abortion is murder, and all illegals must be deported. And, quote, POV, you were assigned intelligent at birth, but you identify as a liberal. Just really fitting that mindset that, you just repeat certain buzzwords over and over, and you can make money off of it.
God, why aren't we doing this, Ron? Why are we out here? Because are we artists? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know. He then started selling MAGA-themed T-shirts. He created an account on the OnlyFans competitor FanView, where paid subscribers could access lewd AI-generated content. and he was raking in thousands of dollars per month. He said, quote, I was spending maybe 30 to 50 minutes of my day, and I was making good money for a medical student.
God bless him. God bless him.
It's genius, and I think we need to look into this.
Bless him. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
I know. I'm 100% with you. I'm like, geez, like it is brilliant. Like if anything, like this guy should be, forget being a medical student. This guy should be teaching people out there, charging for this kind of knowledge.
I would watch a documentary on this guy. Give me an hour and a half on this guy's story. I'm watching it.
100%. 100%. Brian, you remember Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped as a child, now 38 years old, and has appeared in the news for a different reason.
She okay?
Because she apparently is now into bodybuilding and recently took first place in a bodybuilding competition. Here is a photo of her from the competition, looking cut. I mean, geez, she has been doing the work, and the work is so important, people. So this is her fourth bodybuilding competition. Again, she was a child safety advocate, and this was the Wasatch Warrior competition in Salt Lake City, Utah, where she took home first place in the Fit Model Novice category. She also took second place in the Fit Model category and third place in the Fit Model Masters 35 plus category.
God bless her. That woman's been through a lot of trauma to see that she's doing well with her life at this stage. Did you watch that documentary that was on Netflix earlier this year?
I did, yes.
Ooh, that was brutal to watch. Just so sad that that freak out in whatever state that was, Utah, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that freak out in Utah decided he and his wife were broke into a house and stole the girl. And the cops, I remember the documentary, the cops didn't believe the family.
Right.
They felt that it was somebody that, the family knew, and, kept questioning the father. And she was in, if I remember, her younger sister was in the room when it happened, and the sister was just like, "I know who did it. I just don't remember where or when."
I'm familiar. I just can't remember how I know the guy. Yeah. There was a lot of wasted time spent when they could have been trying to find her and bring her home. And
so
thankfully,
good for her.
They eventually did. But yes, it took longer than I think it should have.
Good for her.
Next up, going to your former stomping grounds, Brian. Where Attorney General Letitia James has decided that she will not charge a police officer who ran over and dragged a sleeping man in a park while applying makeup. Here is a shot from another officer's body cam. You can see human legs sticking out from under the police vehicle. That was Erasmo Huerta Gonzalez. He passed away after being run over. And as that is Lieutenant Maritza Mead radioing for help. The insert is the tube of lip gloss that Officer Lavonye Devone was holding as she drove over Gonzalez. So that's where people are finding issue here, is the fact that the police officer was driving her car with both hands occupied with lip gloss and an applicator before she ran over this individual, killing him back on August 23rd of last year.
That's awful.
Investigators said they could not find evidence that Devone was criminally negligent when she drove her squad car over 38-year-old Gonzalez on a pedestrian-heavy interior road in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park.
Oh, I've been in that park before. Never did I fall asleep and get run over by a car. So,
but do you feel if this was you, me, a regular person, and we were distracted, like what is different from operating a cell phone while you're driving versus trying to put on makeup while you're driving.
Yeah,
Like it's
absolutely.
another level of distraction. And shouldn't
Sure.
we hold police officers to a higher level than maybe other people out there?
Ron, I know you've been an outspoken advocate for anti-police organizations. I believe that the police are here to keep order in our society. They're not perfect. No human is. But at the end of the day, I believe they do an incredible amount of good in our society. But I do believe that they should be held to the same standard as regular people.
Okay. I'm not sure if you agree with me or not. It's very difficult to tell from that.
Why would I let you know?
Right there. Exactly. Why would you let me know? Brian, do you think we have time for one more story?
Yes, we have time for one more story.
All right. So this is in regards to a boy age 13 who allegedly killed a tourist by throwing a statue off of a balcony. So here is a photo of a security camera showing tourist Chiara Jaconis. She's in front there, her boyfriend walking behind her. Moments later, this statue would come down from a hotel balcony and killing her because of the height it was thrown from. She was a Prada manager celebrating her 30th birthday in Italy. Apparently, this 13-year-old boy had a history of throwing objects from a height. Italian prosecutors have now claimed that the teen's parents failed to take precautions despite knowing about his habit of throwing items before the September 2024 incident. The boy, described by prosecutors as, quote, problematic, previously threw a tablet, a remote control for an air conditioning unit, and clothespins.
What a terrible way to go.
Yes.
What just a terrible, terrible way to go. Poor thing. Here's a question. Do you believe the parents are responsible? I know that was the debate on the internet this week.
Right.
Is that, it was a minor child that did this. The parents, like you just said, the parents were aware that this was something the kid did. The kid was not being supervised when he launched the statue off the balcony.
Yeah, I think you have to, if this was a one-off, where it wasn't something that he had done before, I think that's one thing. But according to this article, about 15 months prior to this incident, the boy's mother confided in a caregiver that she was concerned he could throw more items from the balcony. So
Jesus.
if almost a year and a half earlier you're worried about that, I think it at least needs to be investigated. So there will be a hearing held on June 26th to determine whether the parents should face trial. I mean, we've seen that more in this country where underage school shooters, their parents are being held responsible for knowing what's going on, for getting them guns at times. So if you know that there is an issue, and you're worried, why not make sure, this kid doesn't have easy access to the balcony? Why not make sure that there's not, things like he dropped a 4.5 pound statue from a 32-foot height that obviously is going to severely injure, if not kill somebody.
And it did kill somebody.
It did in this instance.
Yeah, just very sad. Very sad.
All right, folks. Well, we have enjoyed our time here. We do need to go get ready for After Dark, which is exclusive content for our Patreon subscribers. If you have not joined our Patreon, we encourage you to go to cultofronandbrian.com, click in the upper right-hand corner. If you join at a mere $10 a month level, you can access the After Dark live. We do this thing on the last Sunday of every month, today being that last Sunday, where we do a special pajama party. We have our Patreon subscribers at that $10 level or higher come on the show with us. We chat, we get up to date with each other, we care, we laugh, we grieve, and we play a trivia contest. This month, it's Can You Beat Ron? So Brian has put together, as he mentioned at the top of the show, a 15-question trivia contest. and I will need to defend the honor of this podcast. If not, the winner gets to pick a charity that we will donate $25 to.
There you go.
Brian, anything else? It's been a fantastic
Nothing.
402nd episode. We are barreling faster and faster towards episode 500. We hope you stay with us along the way. Brian, I love you, my friend.
You hope I stay along? You hope I stay along for the ride, or you hope that the fans do?
All of the above. Listen, every time our
just making
fans
sure.
show up on a Sunday, I appreciate it. Every time you show up on a Sunday, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I hope that just continues moving forward. Brian, anything else before we roll on out of here?
I love you, buddy. Thanks for spending this past hour with me.
All right. Love you too. Folks, we will catch you next week.
Takes rising, orders given. Once you're in, you're never